Brandon, any update on where Keenan is at?
No new news. I don't think he'll be at practice today. Still recovering, still day-to-day, but I don't think you'll see him at practice today.
Any optimism that he'll get back to practice at some point this week, or just sort of, like you said, day by day?
Staying day by day, yeah.
And then Donald, still encouraged that he's going to give it a go this week?
Yeah, encouraged. He'll be full in practice today.
But last year against these guys, that game became a shootout. What do you anticipate this time around?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. They got a good football team, and it's a road game. It's going to be a challenging environment, and so we're going to be ready to play.
How much different is that defensive line without Garrett and Clowney in there?
Like any D-line that doesn't have two of the top players in the league, it's tough when you've got two guys that are number one overall picks that are missing from your team. But they've played good defense without them. They've got good depth on their defense. But Miles and Jadeveon are two of the top edge, one of the top tandems in the league. So, they're both outstanding players, run and pass. They're very disruptive. They're both long, big, fast. So, we're going to have our work cut out for us.
What makes Chubb such a difficult runner to defend?
Yeah, Bridget, I think he plays with outstanding pace. Can really see the game and really pace the blocking scheme. I think he sets up his blocks really well. And then he's just a very tough tackle because of how he's built. He's got really strong lower body. He can shrink his surface where he becomes even thicker and smaller. And then he's got really good speed. I mean, he was a track guy in high school. He's a lot faster back than you think, too, because he's such a big back. But he's outstanding, breaking away from people. You see a lot of long runs on the movie. So very, very complete running back.
And his success has mostly come from outside the tackles. Knowing that going in as a defense, is there something you can do differently to prepare?
Yeah, Bridget, try not to let him get there, because you're on to something. That's where a lot of the big runs happen. And normally it's because they're forcing the defensive back to tackle him. Again, a lot of those big runs are coming outside the tackle box, and they do a really good job of scheming him to get there.
A lot of teams are searching for one running back, one good one, and they have two good ones. How unique is that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you're seeing the modern NFL is that you're trying to search for tandems. You're searching for three if you can. Maybe a tandem to run the ball and then a third down type of all-purpose back that can do a little bit of everything. Certainly that's the goal when you're designing a running back group. And I think they were fortunate to get, Kareem, because Kareem was a starting running back in the NFL. He was a starting running back in Kansas City. So he's an outstanding player too. And they're very deep in that group. Last year they were deep. I think, you saw last year the way they played it at running back, Dearness Johnson, I can remember in the Denver game last year in the night game where, he was the MVP of that game or the player of the game in that game, and he had over 100 yards rushing. So they run the ball very well. All their backs touch the ball, and they're very prolific doing so.
Just touch on it a little bit. Just in terms of Kevin's run scheme, obviously we talked about the talent. At running back, we know what they have in the offensive line. But schematically, what does he do that makes it so challenging to defend his running game?
There's a lot of gaps in the running game. He plays with a lot of tight ends, so Bill Callahan being the line coach, if you take a look at where Bill's been, wherever he's been, but the Jets, Cowboys, Washington here, they utilize big people in order to run the ball, which isn't normal in today's NFL, where everything's getting smaller, 3 receiver groupings. They go the opposite way. So they're very proficient running the ball with bigger guys in the game, and they've got a lot of variety in terms of how they run the ball. And then they've got the backs. Not only is the scheme good, but then the backs that are hard to tackle. You put that all together, and you've got a difficult running scheme to defend.
On the Indian period, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more follow-up. How much more varied is the scheme now versus where Kevin came from with Gary Kubiak and a lot of the outside zone? Is it more varied in terms of what they can do as far as maybe more gap scheme stuff and just pretty much being able to do whatever they want?
Yeah, you're on top of it. Yeah, just with the Gary, they're more zone oriented, where now they have a little bit more variety in how they deploy their run schemes. So it just gives them more options, I think, and makes them more challenging to defend.
On Sunday on the 75-yard run by Pierce, it seemed like Nas took a bad angle at the him. How do you feel like he's kind of done in run support and as a safety?
There were a lot of culprits on that play, starting on the edge of our defense, and then if you take a look at that play, we've got an unblocked defender, the corner. Derwin kind of fit outside, and we prefer him to fit inside there. And then between I think Cove on the backside and Nas, we didn't take a good angle there. So that was a team-oriented explosion run. Starting with myself, and we got to do better than that because we obviously had the momentum in that game, and then you get a one punch like that, and you're playing really well on in the run front. We played really well. One run like that can make you feel a lot different about your performance. So I got to do a better job coaching.
Should Zonta fit inside, or did he do the right thing in terms of staying on the sideline there?
No, he should be outside. Derwin should be inside. Yeah, because when the number one receiver blocks, he cracks the support. Now you have the corner free, so now Derwin can be aggressive to the inside of the play.
Did Chris shoot too fast there upfield?
He wasn't expecting the crack. They had not. They hadn't shown that. So just kind of a surprise. Good design by them.
2 straight weeks of an explosive in the run game. Any similarities in that one to what happened in the Jacksonville game?
No, Jackson one different. Kansas City more similar. Perimeter run support.
Any other players that you expect not to practice there?
No, all the other guys from last week, Corey, JC, Sebastian, they will all practice full. The only guy that we're going to add to the injury report today is Dustin Hopkins. He kind of had a quad, kind of felt like some tightness there, so we're just going to put him on the injury report.
What does Donald Parham bring to this offense when he's healthy?
Bridget, he's made a lot of big plays for us. Guys who were here last year, run after catch, whether it was keeper screens, and then just the vertical element, whether it's outside as a receiver or in the tight end position in the seams. He just he can do a lot with the ball in his hands. So, and then last year what we discovered kind of by accident is that he's a pretty darn good blocker too, for being a former basketball player and his height. He did a really good job for us blocking as well. So we're excited to get him back. He's worked really hard to get back.
Dustin had a tackle on a kick return. Do you want the kicker being that aggressive there? Or?
No, I mean Dustin really he's earned his stripes in our locker room because I think he has that athlete vibe of a kicker. So I know he's not scared to mix it up. So he's probably more eager than most. But we would prefer it not to get there. But it's good to know that you have an athlete back there. The thing about him and JK, they're both good athletes. So if it gets there, you at least know you have a chance.
Is it his kicking leg or plant leg? Do you know?
I don't know that. Just a quad. He just kind of felt something the other day, like unrelated to the game, but just some tightness.
Will you guys need to sign or bring in a kicker?
It's a possibility, but it wouldn't happen, I think, till tomorrow.
And Justin Herbert feeling good?
I wouldn't say that. Again,
Relatively?
I'm gonna let Justin speak for himself on that. Again, not commenting on how he feels. But just the practice week, getting back into flow, that's what we're trying to do, is keep establishing that good rhythm of getting his practice, his timing, and so better that way.
Will he throw today?
I believe so.
What's your favorite thing about Mike Williams' game?
Man, one of my favorites for sure. I think Mike has the ability to make really tough plays in many ways. When you may think that he's covered or there's traffic, I think Mike really isn't covered. And I think that's a rare quality in a receiver, is he can give you that friendly target, both deep, intermediate, short, where you feel like you don't have to be perfect with the ball. And as a quarterback, that's a great feeling, knowing that you don't have to be perfect, that you don't have to be precise like every single time. He gives you a target where he can go help you and make a play. So I think that's a big trait of his. And then, we've got the most unselfish superstar wide receiver tandem in the NFL. What he's willing to do for us. And I just love the way that he plays. I love the way he practices. And he's just willing to do all the little things, him and Keenan. And I think that they're a rare tandem that way. I don't know I've ever been around a tandem or seen a tandem just as unselfish and team-oriented as they are, who are as productive as they are. And I think that what you're seeing from Mike, and I think we said it last year, throughout the year, and then after the season, is that I still feel like he's improving. I feel like he's improving as an NFL player. And I know the chemistry in with him and Justin is improving. You know how we play when he gets the ball, and we're a better team when Mike gets the ball. And that's the facts. And we're just going to keep working at it with him, but we're lucky to have him for sure.
What have you seen out of a given ball?
Yeah, what does it speak to that duo, though? It seems like their best games are the time they excel the most is on the road, because Justin has that streak of 300-yard road games. Mike is on a 100-yard receiving pace on the road, too, that no matter the environment, they excel.
Yeah, I think, Joe, those three players specifically working together, they just have real poise. I think, a lot of times you guys see star receivers get emotional about touches and the plan and how it's going throughout a game, or, you just don't see our guys do that. They trust Justin. They trust Joe. They believe in one another. They're happy for one another. And I think that poise and that calm, I think really gives us an advantage, because we never feel like we have to force it to them. And I think that's a very comforting feeling as a quarterback, as a play caller, as a head coach, is that you don't feel like I got to force this or he's going to be unhappy. And that what that allows us to do is play team offense, which is very important.
What have you seen from the Browns defense on the back end, specifically in the secondary?
They're very talented. They've got a lot of good players. Their corner tandem, first-round picks, Denzel, earning that big contract, and then Greg Newsome. They drafted a rookie, Emerson, and then they've got Greedy Williams, who is a high pick, and then in the back end at safety, they're deep, with Delpit, high pick, John Johnson, who I coached, who's as good as anybody in the pros, and they're deep in the secondary, and so a very complete group.
Any idea why maybe it hasn't materialized back there for them? It's a group that's played together, but they've given up quite a few big plays, just in terms of where they rank in pass defense.
I can't comment on that. I know that we have a lot of respect for them. I know, and sometimes it takes time or whatever. But I mean, they're a very quality group. They're tough to play against. That's for sure.
Do you consider Cleveland a difficult place to play?
Oh yeah, one of the top American sports cities there is. Tough environment, and it's it's a place that loves football. And so any place you go and they love their football, it's going to be hard.
Following up on that, it's a rowdy place. How do you get your teams ready for a tough environment like that going into a week like this?
We get the right guys on your team that know how to play on the road, and that's what we have. Is we have guys that can go play anywhere and try to be ready for it. I think our group does a good job of playing in adverse situations, and the way you got to do that, you got to have the right guys, and then you got to have that belief in one another, and that's what we have on our team. That's why we feel like you can go into these tough environments and go compete at a high level.
Just with Matt Filer, it feels like he's not quite playing at the same level as he was last season. Any idea sort of what you're seeing from Matt? Is he dealing with something physically that's impacting his play at all?
Yeah, not physically. I know that we're not disappointed with Matt. I think that like our offense in general, I think we're a work in progress, and I think those guys finding that chemistry, I think that's at the forefront of what we're trying to get to, really in all phases of our team. But we have the utmost confidence in him. He's so solid for us, and we're going to continue to keep working with him. But we're glad we have him, and like him, myself, everybody, we're working to improve.
Jacoby Brissett is supposed to be a stopgap bridge to Deshaun Watson. What have you seen in his performance these 4 games?
Jacoby's a quality player in this league. He started at several places, and there's a reason for that. I know in 2019 when I was in Denver, he was the starter in Indianapolis that year when we played him, and it was a tough game. And Von Miller came in there at the end of the game and unblocked, and couldn't get him down. And he completes a big 50-yard pass, and they end up kicking a field goal to beat us in 2 minutes. It was 13-12 at the time, and he's got real poise. If you watched him play this season, you can see the team believes in him. He's a big, strong quarterback, an athletic quarterback. I've known about him since he was at Dwyer High School in Palm Beach. He was an outstanding basketball player. and, you know, a really quality player at NC State. So, you know, he looks like a starting quarterback. You know, he's 6'5", 240, 245 plus, and can make every throw that you would hope for as a quarterback. He's athletic, and then he's really sharp. You know, if you follow this guy, he's got a lot of starting qualities, and so you're seeing him play like that with him. You know, he's certainly not a backup quarterback. You know, he's a guy who's a starter in this league, and you know, you can see it by the way they call the game.
With a quarterback who does as many design rollouts as he does, how do you limit that, or maybe scheme to try to keep him in the pocket more?
Just got to have edges in the pocket. You know, your edge players have got to play well. That's important against a quarterback like him. And then if your edge players play well, then the middle of your pocket's got to come alive. And when it moves like that, you got to move with it.
You've been there as a coach before, 3 years ago, I think, with Denver.
At Cleveland?
Yeah.
No, we played them at home.
Oh.
Last time I was at this stadium, I was at John Carroll at the Holy War, Ignatius versus St. Ed's recruiting.
Wow. Was there any thought, you know, growing up, or I don't know how many times you were at the old stadium compared to the new one, that you thought that one day you would be on that field as a coach?
I mean, that was always my dream. I went to games at the old stadium. I have not seen a game live at the new stadium, but I know that it's right on the lake, and that's a great venue for sure. And again, you know, with their franchise in the last couple of years, I mean, they've really improved. So those fans are going to come alive when they've got a team to root for. And right now they've got a team that, you know, is a quality team. And then they're, you know, improving, and they're, you know, one of the top teams in the AFC. So it's going to be an intense environment for sure.